All right, who's ready to talk about energy? If you're in St. Louis, Missouri, the answer is everybody because we're in a power outage. It makes you thankful real quick. The candle just became real valuable. The car battery just became the only way that you can charge your phone. The phone became maybe the only way that you can have a nice light. The food in the fridge is probably going to rot. You got to be mentally prepared for something like this to happen. I don't use Apple products necessarily. I've got a Moto G7 power phone precisely because I expect something like this, and so now I know tomorrow I'm not going to have any problems getting that alarm to work. So the idea of an energy enthusiast, it even applies to my personal electronics. Let's get started. Energy poverty was something I was really thinking about because all of a sudden life is totally different, temporarily, of course, but you're not doing the same stuff if the lights are on, or the air conditioning. Carrier air conditioner, a very interesting investment. I only tell people about it when they've experienced tough air conditioning breaks, and then they always say, Jake, that's such an unbelievable idea. I'm dying in here. Something to look at as the planet heats. So, energy poverty, well-being of a large group being negatively affected by either a very low use of energy, which is the case here, of course, dirty energy that's having health impacts, and time spent gathering the fuel. So something you probably weren't even thinking about. Three big ones that we take for granted but are super important. So if energy resource, and I'm even having trouble reading because this flash is so bright. The improved energy resource, the definition of that means that it takes less than 4 hours per person per week to collect the fuel necessary for cooking. There's a certain air quality standard, and it has to have a conversion efficiency of over 20%. So there we had with the efficiency, the cleanliness, and or the amount used, the cleanliness, as well as the time spent gathering, 25%, and this has remained constant since the 70s, which is fascinating, of global energy consumption is biomass, so people burning things. And the unfortunate thing here is it has a major public health impact. What I've even read and wrote down, this is a British study which indicated that, and this one was World Health Organization. We'll reference a British study later. Bunch of sources, folks like that. Power outage is no excuse. The 4% of the global disease toll is thought to have come from the internal the combustion indoors of these biomass fuels, and it's killing a lot of people, comparable with some diseases. And so there's a general concept I follow with these topics that there's no solutions. There's just certain physical limitations. There aren't solutions. There are trade-offs. And so the big trade-off, as we do get more efficient and we do get more clean with the energy, the trade-off there is that it becomes more expensive, or that you require a more sophisticated and expensive infrastructure set. And so if we're just thinking big picture, simple as possible, billions of people are going to start coming onto the grid. The standard for how efficient that's going to be is going to be really high. And the applications, the end use of the energy is getting a lot more specific. So we've got space constraints on batteries, different types of fuels such as hydrogen, welding gas, that's something I've been looking into, or even the idea of household electronics in the US decreasing or increasing like never before. It's actually the second one. And so these demands pulling on each other as far as decrease the carbon but increase the energy usage, I think it happens to be a very compelling place to be. If the energy bill, and of course I say it right now, but if the energy bill was $150 instead of between 30 and $50, still would probably pay it. So as far as likelihood for there to be a tremendous demand for energy, we're really at that 100%. So when people say, "Oh, energy isn't a good field to be in," I think that people are mainly thinking about the oil patch or distressed fossil fuel assets, which is certainly not the whole picture, and which certainly is no way to kind of big picture view where the ship is going globally as a species face these big challenges. Some positive research, and this one was the British study, was that as economies grow in the more developed, and I know not everybody's that's not everybody's favorite term, but it's what they said, is that as an economy develops, they will increase the capacity to decouple their carbon emissions from the size of the economy, meaning that through increases in efficiency, you can still grow without having runaway emissions. So that to me was a nice sign of hope, and one where for the people who are just worried about like, oh, the economic growth, things are going to be really bad. Will I have children? Will I have a future? Well, let's just go steady. We got this. There's a lot of hope. There's big funds from the World Bank and the UN, tons of just global organizations. It's kind of an alphabet soup that's hard to keep straight, but I read about a couple of big funds that are doing this. And as bonus content for those who were cool enough to stick through, just like this awesome bee candle, we love it. It smells nice as well. The banks and insurance companies, so they're getting tougher on their lending for fossil fuel projects, right? And this isn't, it's rookie stuff to talk about government, what's being outlawed or what's being taxed or what court battles are happening. But what's the real big leagues is banks and then insurance. So I'm even reading, and again, I read the Insurance Journal weekly, the big coal projects not getting insured as much because the actuaries come back and they say, hey, these particles in the sky are actually causing major storms that are hurting our other assets and causing us bigger losses, so maybe we can scale back at that. Plus the public pressure is unbelievable. Pretty soon corporations are going to have to pass the big Jake Little test whether or not they're doing the right thing. So appreciate everybody who is watching this. Huge reminder not to take anything for granted. Go say thank you to somebody today, just like I'm thanking you for supporting the channel and supporting these ideas out there. Make it a great rest of the week, no matter what happens in your surroundings. Catch you later.